Ladies and gentlemen, nobody cares, not about your excuses, not about your struggles, not about your story, until you win. Sounds harsh, good, because this is where your power begins. This isn't the kind of message that pats you on the back. It's the slap you've needed. Why? Because deep down, you're waiting for someone to notice your effort, to applaud your potential, to care. But here's the twist: they won't. Not until you show them something undeniable. So the next time you feel invisible, remember this: you were never meant to be seen by everyone. You were meant to see yourself first. Let them sleep, let them doubt, let them forget you. You rise, you grind, you finish, because nobody cares until you win. So do it for you. So why should you watch this entire speech? Because today, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to wake you up. You keep wondering why nothing is changing, why you still feel stuck, why you're not where you want to be. It's because you've outsourced your hunger. You're waiting for someone to push you, to inspire you, to save you, but no one is coming. That pain you feel, it's your teacher. That silence, it's your stage. That loneliness, it's the signal that it's time to build yourself. Look, life is brutal. You can either spend it crying for attention or grinding in the shadows until the spotlight finds you. Not for their claps, not for their likes, but for your peace, your legacy, your truth. You have to show up when it's boring, push forward when it's hard, level up when no one's watching. The most powerful day of your life is the day you stop waiting. Waiting for someone to encourage you, waiting for someone to believe in you, waiting for someone to push you, support you, or tell you that you're good enough. The truth is, that moment may never come. And the longer you wait for it, the more control you give away over your potential, your progress, and your peace of mind. You see, we're conditioned from a young age to seek approval. In school, we wait for teachers to tell us we did well. At home, we wait for praise from family. On social media, we wait for likes to validate our choices. But life doesn't reward the ones who wait. It rewards the ones who move, quietly, consistently, alone, if necessary. There comes a moment where you have to accept that nobody owes you encouragement, nobody owes you recognition, nobody owes you motivation, and when you finally understand this, you stop looking outward and start looking inward. Because the freedom you've been chasing doesn't come from someone handing you a roadmap. It comes from realizing that you already have the compass. You already know what you need to do. But fear, comfort, and the fantasy that someone will do it for you has been holding you back. When you embrace self-reliance, you stop being a passenger in your own life. You stop drifting, waiting for things to align, for circumstances to be perfect, or for someone to come along and fix everything. You start becoming the solution, the architect, the engine, and that's when everything shifts. You stop needing permission to dream. You stop explaining yourself to people who never tried to understand you in the first place. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces you've outgrown. Instead, you begin building your own space, your own rhythm, your own rules. Is it lonely sometimes? Absolutely. But loneliness isn't a curse, it's a clean canvas. When no one is around to influence you, you find out who you really are, what you really want, and who you're willing to become to get there. Self-reliance isn't about doing everything alone. It's about knowing you could if you had to. It's about no longer being emotionally dependent on others to validate your grind. Because when you truly rely on yourself, you stop being reactive to other people's opinions, and you start being proactive about your own direction. You'll find that people respect the results, not the process. They'll criticize you while you're building and celebrate you once it's built. But by then, their praise won't even matter because you didn't do it for them. You did it for you, and that's real power, when your actions are no longer a cry for attention, but a declaration of who you are, not for applause, not for acceptance, but because the vision inside you deserves to be real. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, tired of waiting, tired of feeling unseen, good, use that. Let it drive you inward, not outward. Let it remind you that no one is more responsible for your future than you. And once you take that fully into your bones, something incredible happens. You become unstoppable, not because things get easier, but because you get stronger, focused, free. Freedom isn't given. It's earned through discipline, solitude, and a decision that no matter what, you'll show up for yourself, because you understand now nobody cares, and that's your greatest advantage. One of the most exhausting habits we carry is the constant need for validation. It sneaks into our thoughts, our actions, even our dreams. We hesitate to take a step until someone gives us a thumbs up. We hold back our voice, our talent, our ambition, because we're silently asking the world, is this okay? Am I good enough? This craving for validation is like chasing a shadow. No matter how fast you run or how far you go, it's always out of reach. Even when you get a taste of it, a compliment, a like, a pat on the back, it fades quickly. And soon, you're hungry for more, stuck in a loop of seeking approval from people who don't live your life, carry your burdens, or walk your path. Why do we do this? Because we've been trained to measure our worth through others' reactions. It starts early. We're rewarded for following the rules, for fitting in, for being liked. We learn that applause means value, and so we adapt, not to be our truest selves, but to be accepted versions of ourselves. But here's the truth that breaks the cycle. You don't need permission to become who you are. You don't need your friends to agree with your goals. You don't need your parents to understand your dream. You don't need strangers to cheer for you online. You need you, your commitment, your honesty, your fire. When you stop waiting for validation, you start creating from a place of freedom. You stop hesitating to act because you're no longer performing. You're expressing, you're building, you're living with purpose, not for praise. The most authentic work you'll ever do will probably be misunderstood. The most important decisions you'll make won't always be popular. And the moments that define your growth may not be celebrated by anyone but you, and that's okay. In fact, that's how you know you're on the right path, because growth requires you to step outside the familiar echo of other people's opinions. You see, validation is a drug. It feels good in the moment, but it creates dependency. When it's absent, you question your worth. When it's present, you crave more. But like any addiction, it limits your freedom. It takes away your ability to move forward with clarity and confidence. You have to ask yourself, would you still chase your goals if no one clapped for you? Would you still speak your truth if no one applauded? Would you still show up day after day, even if no one ever said, good job? If your answer is yes, you found something real. If it's no, it's time to stop and examine who you're doing it for and why. Doing something for validation means your motivation is fragile. One harsh comment can derail your focus. One rejection can break your momentum. One failure can feel like a verdict. But when you're driven by something deeper, your own values, your own discipline, your own sense of purpose, then no setback can stop you. You become untouchable, not because people always support you, but because you've learned not to depend on their support. This is not about arrogance. It's about independence. It's about understanding that your worth doesn't rise and fall with the opinions of others, that the only approval you truly need is your own. That success is not measured by applause, but by alignment with who you are and what you know you're capable of. So stop waiting. Stop holding back your ideas, your creativity, your ambition just because you're unsure how it will be received. Let the world catch up or not. Either way, you keep going. When you no longer need validation to act, you reclaim your power. You start writing your own story, not one edited for applause or shaped by public opinion. You become whole because you finally realize you were never meant to be completed by someone else's approval. Do it for you, not because they said you could, but because deep down you know you were born to. We live in a world obsessed with comfort. Everything around us is designed to make life easier, faster, more convenient. Instant results, quick fixes, soft landings, but growth doesn't live there. Growth doesn't come dressed in comfort. It comes wrapped in discomfort, pressure, pain, and that's why most people never reach their true potential. Because when pain shows up, they run, they back off. They stop, but here's the truth. Pain is part of progress. There is no strength without struggle, no transformation without discomfort. Every time you push your limits, something has to stretch, and stretching hurts. Not because you're weak, but because you're growing. Think about it. The strongest version of you is not created in ease. It's forged in difficulty. You don't build resilience by gliding through perfect days. You build it when things fall apart and you keep going anyway. You don't learn discipline when everything goes your way. You learn it when nothing does and you still show up. Pain is not the enemy. It's the instructor. It shows you what needs work. It reveals where you're still holding back. It teaches you who you really are when comfort is stripped away. And while most people try to numb it, avoid it, or blame others for it, you can choose to use it. The pain of waking up early, of training when your body is tired, of studying when your mind wants to quit, of sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term purpose, this is the pain that builds a future. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, but it's necessary. Every scar, every failure, every moment you felt broken, that's part of your foundation. That's where character is born. No one talks about the hours spent alone in silence. The countless times you questioned your path, the rejection letters, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the days where it felt like nothing was working, like all your effort was invisible, but these moments are not wasted. They are investments. They are the unspoken chapters of your comeback story. And if you're going through one of those chapters now, you need to hear this. Don't run from the pain. Don't numb it. Don't bury it. Let it shape you. You might feel like you're breaking, but what if you're just breaking through? Most people hit pain and stop. Winners hit pain and learn. They lean in. They ask, what is this teaching me? Because behind every painful experience is a message, and if you ignore the message, you miss the lesson. But if you face it, sit with it, and move through it, you come out sharper, wiser, and stronger than before. Growth is uncomfortable because you're letting go of old parts of yourself. You're shedding habits that no longer serve you, beliefs that hold you back, identities you've outgrown, and that process doesn't feel good, but it is good. It's what separates those who merely dream from those who actually become. No one builds a legacy in comfort. Champions are not made in cozy environments. They are built through repetition, rejection, resilience. Every drop of sweat, every setback, every sacrifice, it counts, even when no one is watching, even when it seems like nothing is changing, because progress isn't always visible, but it's always happening when you persist through pain. So the next time you feel discomfort creeping in, welcome it. It means you're alive. It means you're evolving. Don't wish it away. Don't trade it for ease. Step into it. Use it. Let it burn away your excuses and reveal your power. Because if it's painful, it probably matters. If it's uncomfortable, it's probably necessary. And if it challenges you, it's probably changing you. Pain is not a punishment. It's the pathway. It's the proof that you're not standing still. So embrace it, not for the pain itself, but for what it's shaping you into. Every time you rise after falling, every time you keep going when it hurts, you are not just surviving, you are becoming. And that's progress. That's purpose. That's power. Emotions are powerful. They're raw, intense, and deeply human. They rise without warning and often arrive without our permission. They can inspire greatness or ignite destruction. But here's the thing. Emotions were never meant to lead your life. They're meant to inform you, not control you. One of the most dangerous habits we fall into is allowing our emotions to dictate our actions. We feel tired, so we quit. We feel afraid, so we don't try. We feel rejected, so we stop showing up. But when you let emotions drive the car, don't be surprised if you crash, because emotions, as powerful as they are temporary, fleeting, changing, and building your life on something so unstable is a recipe for chaos. Think of your emotions like a dashboard in a car. The lights on the dashboard don't drive the vehicle. They simply tell you something's happening under the hood. When the engine light comes on, you don't jump out of the car and walk away. You investigate, you adjust, you take action. The same should be true with your feelings. If you're angry, it's a signal. Something needs to be addressed. If you're sad, it's a signal. Something needs healing. If you're afraid, it's a signal. Something important is at stake. But none of those signals are commands. You don't have to obey them. You simply need to understand them. Most people either suppress their emotions or submit to them. They either pretend they don't exist, bottling everything up until it explodes, or they become slaves to their mood, reacting to everything, lashing out, shutting down, or spiraling. Neither path leads to strength. Real strength is when you acknowledge your emotions without becoming them. You can feel doubt and still move forward. You can feel fear and still take the leap. You can feel sad and still keep going. That's maturity, that's discipline, that's emotional mastery, and it doesn't mean you're cold or robotic. It means you're in control. The strongest people aren't the ones who feel nothing. They're the ones who feel deeply, but respond wisely. They don't deny their pain or pretend they're unaffected. They recognize it, sit with it, process it, and then act based on their values, not their feelings. Emotions come and go, but your values, your mission, your goals, those are steady. Those are what keep you grounded when your emotions are trying to pull you in 10 different directions. You have to make a choice. Will you be ruled by emotion, or will you be guided by purpose? Because when you let emotions lead, you live a reactive life. Every challenge becomes a crisis. Every setback becomes personal. Every obstacle feels impossible. But when you lead with discipline and awareness, emotions become a tool, not a trap. Feeling frustrated doesn't mean you stop. Feeling unmotivated doesn't mean the mission changes. Feeling afraid doesn't mean the opportunity isn't worth it. Emotions give you data, not direction. Ask yourself, how many times have you made a decision in anger only to regret it later? How many times have you walked away from something meaningful because fear clouded your vision? How often have you held back your voice because insecurity whispered, "You're not enough"? Now imagine if you had paused, breathed, listened to the emotion, but didn't obey it. What could have changed? That's what self-mastery looks like, not perfection, not emotionlessness, just a deep awareness that you are not your feelings. You are the one who notices them. You are the one who chooses what happens next. So next time the pressure builds and your emotions start to scream louder than your purpose, pause, feel it, hear it, then respond with intention. Don't let momentary emotion make permanent decisions. Don't let a temporary mood ruin your momentum. Your emotions are valid, but they are not the final authority. You are. And once you realize that once you stop handing the wheel to every passing feeling, you become unshakable. Focused, clear, you don't drift with every wave of emotion. You stand firm, rooted in who you are and where you're going, because the goal isn't to stop feeling. The goal is to stop being ruled by those feelings, to let your emotions speak, but never let them decide. They are signals, not masters, and you are still in control. Everyone has a voice in their head that whispers doubts when things get hard. It says, "This isn't fair. I'm tired. I can't do this. Why me?" That voice plays the victim. And if you listen to it long enough, it becomes your identity. It becomes the story you tell yourself about why you can't, why you haven't, and why nothing ever changes. The inner victim always has a reason not to try. It's the part of you that looks for excuses instead of solutions. It blames the past, the environment, the people around you, the system, the timing, anything to avoid taking responsibility. And while some of those reasons may be valid, the truth is this: valid excuses still don't get results. You cannot grow while protecting your excuses. You cannot become stronger while feeding your weakness. And you cannot move forward if you keep telling yourself a story that keeps you stuck. Silencing the inner victim is not about denying pain or pretending life is easy. It's about refusing to let pain define you. It's about standing up and saying, "This happened, it hurt, but it doesn't get to control what I do next." You take that pain, that failure, that disappointment, and you turn it into fuel. The world is not always fair. Some people start further ahead. Some people get more breaks. Some people have more support. But none of that changes what you're capable of doing with what you have. If you're constantly comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel, you're setting yourself up to quit before you even begin. Your job is not to match someone else's path, it's to own yours. Fully, fiercely, without apology, the inner victim will try to convince you that you're powerless, that the weight is too heavy, that the circumstances are too tough. But that's a lie, because you've already survived things that were meant to break you. You've already faced battles and made it through. You've already proven in your quietest moments that strength lives in you. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need people to understand. You don't need everything to be fair. What you need is a decision to stop letting that voice win, a decision to stop playing small because it feels safer than failing, a decision to step into your power even when it feels unfamiliar. The inner victim thrives on comfort. It wants you to stay in the same place, doing the same things, avoiding the risk of rejection or loss. But progress requires risk. It requires discomfort. It demands action even when motivation is nowhere to be found. You will not always feel ready. You will not always feel strong. But action isn't about feelings. It's about commitment. You show up even when the voice says not to. You move forward even when it tries to convince you to stop. And over time, that voice gets quieter. It loses its power, not because it disappears, but because you stop listening. This isn't about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to move despite fear. It's about being strong enough to take responsibility even when you want to blame the world. Because responsibility isn't a burden. It's your way out. When you take responsibility, you take control. And when you take control, you gain freedom. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, tired of waiting for things to change, tired of watching others rise while you stand still, look within, listen closely, recognize the voice that keeps you small, then silence it. Not by arguing with it, but by proving it wrong. Work in silence, improve in silence, build in silence. Let your results speak louder than your complaints ever did. Because at the end of the day, no one can want it for you. No one can fight for you like you can, and no one, not even that inner voice, gets to decide how far you go. You're not a victim, you're a fighter, you're a builder, you're the author of your story, so rewrite it. Start today, and make sure the next chapter sounds nothing like the last one. Motivation is a beautiful thing, but it's also unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. One day, you're full of energy, driven by a wave of inspiration. The next day, you're dragging yourself through the hours, wondering where all that fire went. And that's exactly why motivation alone can never be the foundation of progress. Because real growth, real transformation, doesn't depend on how you feel, it depends on what you do consistently. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is the quiet force that keeps you moving when motivation disappears. It doesn't care if you feel like it. It doesn't wait for the right mood, the perfect conditions, or a rush of energy. Discipline is the internal contract you make with yourself. I will show up no matter what. This is the shift most people never make. They chase inspiration, scroll for motivation, wait for the right time, hoping they'll feel ready enough to act. But the people who actually change their lives aren't the ones who wait to feel good. They're the ones who act regardless of how they feel, because they've realized that showing up matters more than feeling ready. You can't build a strong body by going to the gym only when you're motivated. You can't master a skill by practicing only when it's fun. You can't build a business, change your habits, or create anything meaningful by working only when you feel like it. The truth is, most of the breakthrough moments in your life will come when you don't feel like showing up, but you do it anyway. Discipline is not about punishment. It's not about being harsh on yourself. It's about keeping promises to yourself. It's self-respect in action. When you tell yourself you're going to wake up early, and you do it, you build trust with yourself. When you say you're going to eat clean, study, train, or work, and you follow through, you strengthen the foundation of who you are. And here's the magic: discipline creates momentum. The more you show up, the more you reinforce the identity of someone who follows through. And eventually, it becomes less about motivation and more about habit. It becomes part of who you are. You no longer need to hype yourself up. You just do the work because it's what you do. It's not always glamorous. It won't always be exciting. Some days it'll feel like a grind. But that grind, that's where the greatness is built. In the hours no one sees. In the discipline no one applauds. In the quiet decisions that separate the ones who wish from the ones who win. Ask yourself, are you doing this because it's easy or because it matters? Are you committed only when it's convenient, or are you locked in regardless of circumstances? Your answer reveals everything. When you build discipline, you become dangerous. In the best way, because now you're not controlled by moods. You're not distracted by doubt. You're not waiting to be inspired. You're moving forward every day on purpose. Even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one's watching, because you understand now, the goal is too important, your future is too valuable, and your time is too precious to waste waiting for a feeling that may or may not show up. Discipline gives you the edge. It gives you stability when life gets chaotic. It gives you focus when your emotions scream for distraction. And it gives you freedom, because once you can control your actions, you control your outcomes. So don't just chase motivation. Build discipline, cultivate it, protect it, make it your standard, not your backup plan, because when the hype fades, when the inspiration runs dry, when everything feels uphill, discipline is what keeps you moving. And that's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the starters from the finishers, the average from the unstoppable. Discipline doesn't shout, it doesn't need to, it proves itself, one action at a time.